Hi YouTube users, it's Dino the Handyman. Welcome to my channel. Today's little video is on plungers, their use, their function, and you know why. I mean, although it may seem a little Neanderthalish and really simple that, oh, the toilet's clogged, I gotta plunge it, but there's techniques and there's right and wrong ways to do it, and if you're doing it the right way, it's going to be a relatively quick and easy undertaking, where if you're doing it the wrong way, it can really get pretty messy and disgusting and frustrating, and it may even end up in you calling a plumber and paying like $300 for something you could have done yourself in like 2 minutes if you had the knowledge. There's different types of plungers. We're going to get into that. There's, you know, plungers that are like old and dried out. The rubber is old and dried out and they're not springy anymore. They're not going to work no matter what. There's plungers for toilets, there's plungers for sinks. You can't, well, you could try to interchange them for different tests, but you're not going to be very successful. There's also like dangers to plunging, believe it or not. If you're not doing it right, you're going to make a big mess, and some of this substances we're going to be dealing with are actually quite infectious and possibly even toxic or caustic, depending. And a little side note, like liquid drain opening chemicals usually don't work and can actually hinder you coming later on with a plunger and cause possible injury, because now you got like a mixture of drain cleaner and water in the sink, and you're going to be vigorously plunging and it could splash up into your eyes. So and besides, they rarely ever work. Everybody knows that. The liquid drain openers are basically a marketing thing and not really a useful endeavor, either unless you want to wait like 2 weeks for the chemicals to eat the hair clog away, because hair is like a material object, and to get your drain is already full of water, and now to get a caustic chemical down to the hair in a strong enough concentration to actually eat the hair clog away, it's like impossible. Also, sinks have like overflows and vents, and if you don't understand this concept of a sink having an overflow or a tub having a vent, you could plunge all day long on the drain. Nothing's going to happen. I'm going to show you about these vents and overflows and how to overcome that obstacle quickly and simply to effectively plunge and open your drain. We're going to talk a little about what actually can get stuck in your drain, or what actually can get stuck in your toilet. Your toilet is clogging frequently. What's going on? Is there something mechanically wrong with the toilet? Who in the household is going to be responsible for unclogging the toilet? And you single moms out there, and you single moms out there, and I want to talk to you right now, because you do enough. You're running the whole household, you're probably working and supporting everybody, and you got like a 12-year-old kid that a boy, let's say, that uses like tons of TP every time he goes, clogs up the toilet like every other day, and leaves it to you to deal with. Responsibility has to go to the clogging party. So you're gonna sit your kid in front of this video, and he's gonna watch it, and he's gonna be the one in the household who's responsible for unclogging the toilets. You're not going to do this as like a punishment or anything like that. You're going to make him feel good about it, that he's actually contributing to the household, and that he actually has a life skill that he's going to be using years down the road and possibly pass on to his children. So let me switch right now to those young men who your mom's going to you know, shoot you the link to this video, she's going to share with you, or she's going to sit it down and push the play button. This is a skill that you're going to be using down the road years and years. You know, I mean, you're a kid now and you're in school, and if the janitors clean out the school toilet, and you know, you clog up the one at home because you were always a kid up until now, your mom always took care of it, but mama ain't going to always be there. It's going to be on your shoulders. I mean, you're a young man. You're going to be owning a house one day, you know, after you get through with high school, and you either start, you know, like a trade school, or you go on to college and you get an apartment, or you get a house. I mean, who's going to clean the shitter then? It's going to be you. And if you watch my quick video here, if you clog the toilet, it's like a 2-second thing to unclog it if you do it right. It's not a big deal. So this is a skill you should be proud of. This is a skill that you're going to carry with you, or possibly pass on to your own children in the future. So, you know, show your mom the respect she deserves, and unclog your own freaking toilets. Alright, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. First, we're going to go over some basics on the blackboard, and then we're going to take you to actually physically unclog a couple of sinks and a couple of different style toilets, and show you you know, the ins and outs of clearing drains. This, my friends, is a quick sketch that I made of an example bathroom basin sink, and I want you to pay attention. Okay, so this is the rim of the sink, the actual basin, and this is my representation of a drain pipe with the trap. They call this the trap. Now, I want you to pay attention. Bathroom sinks, they have an overflow in them, and it'll be a hole somewhere towards the top edge of the basin, sometimes in the front, sometimes on the side. It's a hole, and what that's for is if you accidentally leave the water running and it gets up high enough to the hole, instead of overflowing onto your bathroom floor, it'll overflow into the overflow hole and end up in the drain and go out with not a problem. The problem with this is when you come in with your plunger to clear the drain, and you could probably see this coming already, you come in with your plunger. This is a plunger, a sink plunger. You come in with your plunger and you plunge in this drain. Let's say the clog is here, and instead of the pressure wave clearing the clog, the pressure goes out the overflow hole. So you could sit there and plunge all day, nothing's going to happen. You have to cover the overflow hole with a wet rag with one hand, cover the overflow, and the other hand plunge. Problem solved. Another issue you're going to run into in these bathroom basin sinks is the pop-up drain. And here's a couple of examples of the pop-up drains. You know what I'm talking about. It goes right in the drain. Now, the first thing I want to point out is underneath the sink is the arm for the pop-up drain that hooks up to the knob by the faucet that you push up and down to open and close the drain. There's a little stub that sticks inside the drain. The stub goes inside that hole. And that's what moves it up and down. A lot of times the clog is right there. It's a big hairball right on that. And you can actually plunge and cover the vent hole and plunge, and a lot of stuff will come up that you could pull out with your hand, but there'll still be a clump of hair on that stub. So there's a couple of ways we can get that out. The first way is you come in with your hands underneath the sink and reach behind and loosen the nut that holds the pop-up arm in there. If it's a little tight, you could use something like a channel lock to get in there. And it's standard threads, lefty loosey, righty tighty, but remember it's in the back of the pipe, so it's going to be reversed behind you. So keep that in mind. So clockwise, facing it, again it's backwards, but facing it clockwise would be tight, and counterclockwise it would be loose, but it's reversed because it's behind. So loosen up that nut, and you can pull that arm back. Now sometimes the clump will come out on the arm and you can grab it from under there, but most of the time it'll still be hanging in the drain there, because you're just pulling this arm out and that hair's going to be hanging in the drain. So you could either reach in with like a needle nose plier. I know this is a really long needle nose and one of my favorites for this kind of task, but a regular needle nose will usually, and you can reach down there, grab it and pull it out. Also commercially available are things like these, where you could stick it down in there and the little teeth pick up the clog. This one kind of has a little head like that, so you could use this, or you could fashion a simple hook out of like a coat hanger or something, or a piece of wire to get in there and get that out. If there's water in the sink and you take that nut out, the water's all going to come out of that hole, so you should have either bail out the sink or have a bucket underneath to catch it. I didn't want anyone to get stuck on this pop-up issue that we're talking about. So here is a actual pop-up drain. That's what you would see in your sink. So I can show you how it works. When you do the push up and push down behind the sink is when the pop-up will open and close. And when you're going to take the pop-up drain out to undo any clogs, so what you're going to do is reach under the sink, and you're going to, like as you look straight in, you're going to see this, but you want to reach behind, and this is that nut we're talking about. Loosen the nut up, and here's one of those nylon washers or bushings I was talking about. Here is your pop-up rod, and that's the part that's inside the drain that hooks into the hole in the bottom of the stopper, which is why you have to take this rod out to get the stopper off, because it's locked in there. Also still in there is one nylon bushing. Okay, so when it's assembled, these nylon bushings are on either side of this ball, and that's what keeps the water from leaking out. And then this nut tightens everything up. So when you're putting it back together, just pay attention. Some pop-ups, depending on the manufacturer and the design, will have 2 of these nylons. Some I've seen don't have any. They just rely on metal to metal. Some have 1. So and sometimes once this one is in, it doesn't come out anymore. It kind of gets stuck in there, so you don't have to worry about that one. But this second one that goes under the nut, just be careful if it falls out that you get it back in there. Now when you're putting your stopper back in, you want to make sure, you see that's a little offset, that bottom thing, it's offset. So you want to make sure it's oriented like this, so the offset is to the rear, towards the ball, and when you put it in. And then you'll have to, with one hand, kind of line it up, because you want to get, see if I could show you, to get that rod in, you're going to want to make sure that that hole is there, if you just saw that, so that you can get this rod right in the hole, so your pop-up will indeed work. I'm doing this one-handed, but you get the idea. So you want to make sure that as you're putting this in to the pipe and sticking this in at the same time, that you indeed thread it through the hole, and make sure by pulling up, when you're pulling up, you'll feel that it's actually locked on, then you could put your nut on and tighten it up. So don't want any one of my viewers to get hung up on this pop-up issue, so I'm just showing you how a pop-up works, hands-on, and hope it helps. And if you another issue, as long as we're on it, this here is your pop-up handle. An issue sometimes is this gets loose. This is just basically an adjustment for length, and sometimes it'll get loose and your pop-up won't work anymore. So you want to make sure that that's tight, or if it actually got loose and it may have gotten pulled out over time, you're going to want to put it back in there and snug this up nice. And this end, it hooks on with a clip. You can see this clip that you basically squeeze to slide it off. This is the clip that holds the pop-up extension to the pop-up rod. And it's basically a stainless steel clip that you squeeze. You put one, like you just saw. Again, I'm doing this one-handed. I mean, I'm just trying to help you guys out here. But so you put one, and then play with your length until you get it right. I like to put the pop-up open and the rod down to orient it, and then I'll find the corresponding hole, and then you put the second one, and squeezing it, you'll clip it onto the rod. And once it's clipped on, they hold pretty good, that little clip there. So that's basically how your pop-up works. Pop-ups, the newer ones, and I'm talking like the last 25 years, the newer ones, you can't take this out of the sink because the pop-up arm goes through that hole and locks it in there. So you can't take this out unless you take the arm out, like I just talked about. Some of the older sinks have pop-ups like this where it's keyed in. The pop-up arm is keyed in. You can see that shape. So you just twist it and you can pull it out. And then you could get in and pull out your head pump without taking that arm off. But the newer ones, you can't get access to that unless you take that arm thing out. And then when you put it back in, the pop-up arm, you want to make sure you pay attention when you take it out, because there's usually a little nylon like washer kind of thing, because there's a ball. The pop-up arm has like a ball, and this is the outside where the handle hooks up. This is that ball where the nut is. So you want to pay attention that you put everything back the way it came out. Sometimes there's two like clamshell things, sometimes there's one clamshell thing. So just pay attention, and you want to snug that up and check for leaks before you close up the sink. When you're done, you're going to want to fill it up with water, close the drain, fill it up with water, open the drain, and make sure it's not leaking. If it is dribbling a little bit, tighten it up a little bit more. Okay, okay, kitchen sinks. A kitchen sink will not have a pop-up. A kitchen sink will not have an overflow. A kitchen sink, you can just come in and plunge it. You don't have to worry about a stub sticking in the pipe. You don't have to worry about a vent, an overflow. Sometimes kitchen sinks will have what they call a dishwasher stub, which is a hose that hooks up to your dishwasher, but that's not going to affect the action of the plunger. So a kitchen sink is easier to just get in there and plunge than a bathroom sink. Now, most of the time, your clog is going to be in the trap or at the pop-up stub. Other places where it clogs is usually like at pipe joints or like bends down the line. So what we're dealing with today is just plungers, which is basically going to get you an action of a plunging action through the trap and a couple of feet down the line. Usually not effective for anything more than a couple of feet past the trap. So here's the water. Inside the porcelain of the toilet, there's a trap, which is a U-shaped pipe cast into the porcelain that keeps the like the sewer gases from coming up. But the clogs in a toilet are usually in the trap, where you get a bunch of paper and let's just say an excrement that clogs it up. So when you get in there with a toilet plunger, which we talked about, has the toilet shape, you don't have to worry about vents or anything like that. But you have to get in there in the bottom and make sure that the angle that you're holding the plunger gets the best seal possible on the base of that inside that toilet, and vigorously plunge to dislodge that clog that's usually going to be in the U-shape inside the porcelain of the toilet. Now, a bathroom shower has no vent, no overflow. It's basically like a kitchen sink. If this is the floor of the shower, there's just a cover, a chrome cover, which sometimes has 2 screws holding it in. Sometimes it's just held in by gravity. You remove the 2 screws and lift the cover plate off, or if it's the gravity one, you just lift it off. You must remove the drain cover in order to effectively plunge a shower drain. Usually when you take that cover off, you're going to see a big clump of hair, right? And soap, scum, and all kind of stinky stuff. I'm going to post a link in the description below of a drain that I did a little while ago that was so clogged with hair that I instantly pulled the phone out of my pocket and made a quick upload video because it was unbelievable what came out of it. But I didn't have to plunge that drain. I didn't have to snake it. All I did was take the chrome cover off, and I believe I actually used this tool, but I only like hooked it with the first inch. I could have used something like this. I could have reached in with my fingers, and it all came out in one piece. A big, long, like 3-foot long snake of horribly disgusting soap scum hair and greasy body residue buildup. So you'll either see that when you take the cover off, or sometimes you will see nothing, and that except the water, because it's clogged up. In that case, you will go to a plunger to clear the shower drain. But again, showers, aside from removing the chrome cover, you don't have to worry about vents or overflows. A shower is basically like a kitchen sink, except there is the cover. Now, one sink that'll get some people is the utility sink, and that's like a 2-compartment sink. You'll find this in like laundry rooms and stuff like that. It is 1 faucet, or it could be 2 faucets, but anyway, it's a 2-compartment sink, and the drains will hook together underneath with a T. Now, if you come on this side and you plunge it, and you plunge this side, because let's say the clog is here, or let's say, well, even better, let's say the clog is here. So your utility sink is filling up, so you plunge this side, but the pressure wave you create is just going to come out the other drain hole, and you're actually not going to do anything. Again, you have to cover one of the drains with it like a wet rag, or with a second plunger, holding it for a good seal. And then you can plunge, and you will effectively, hopefully, knock the clog out. We'll loosen it up and flush it down the drain. Some are even 3-compartment sinks, like you'll find under a bar or something like that. And again, you'll have to or cover 2 of the drains with wet rags or other plungers, and plunge the one, and then cover that one and plunge it. So you'll have to, if it's a 3-compartment, you have to keep 2 of them covered while you're plunging one. If it's a 2-compartment, you got to keep 1 covered while you're plunging the other. And although there's not an overflow per se, these are usually designed where the center divider is lower than the outside wall. So if one sink does fill over, if like the clog is there, let's say, the extra water would come down and still go down the drain. Although if it's clogged down the pipe, it'll just fill up both and eventually flood onto the floor. So that's how you deal with a 2 or a 3-compartment sink, where they're all hooked together, is covering the other holes while you plunge into one. And I would recommend that if you plunge in this one and you do indeed clear the clog, I would still come and switch and plunge this one just for plunging's sake, to get any loose stuff out of the pipe. So I would plunge them all, even if I cleared the clog on the first attempt. If any of you noticed, yes, I did just get my hair styled. My neighbor, who I barter with my handyman services in exchange for her expert, she's a hairstylist in Great Neck, really nice salon. So anyway, we find ourselves in a bathroom which has a basin with an overflow and a pop-up. It has a commode or a toilet, and it has a stand-up shower. Any one of these three can and will get clogged, and you can unclog them with a plunger. So quickly, we're going to review what we learned on the blackboard in actual usage of how we would do a sink, a sink with an overflow and a pop-up, how we would do a toilet, and how we would do a stand-up shower. So let's get going on the first one, which we will tackle, which is the sink with the overflow and pop-up. Well, let's look at the weapons in our arsenal. What do we have at our disposal? First is a plunger that I keep in a case, okay? But there's different kind of plungers, and I just wanted to show you that there are cases available with like mesh to keep them dry and stuff like that. This is a sink plunger. This is a smaller sink plunger. Both the cup and the stick are smaller. You can remove the sticks and you can change them, or this is handy for like a bar. Let's say under a bar, this is nice. If there's a room for a longer stick, it's nice to have a longer stick. This, although it looks similar to a sink plunger, is not a sink plunger. This is a specialized toilet plunger. It has the bottom lip that pops out, and this seals around the toilet hole better than a sink plunger would. You may find this actually ineffective in a toilet because of the shape of the bowl, where this one will seal and fit better. There are a few different now I keep a lot of plungers because I will not put a used plunger back in my work truck. If I'm called to a home that has a clogged toilet and I use a plunger on it, I will leave the plunger in the house for the homeowner. Number one, because they obviously need it or they wouldn't have called me. Number two, I'm not putting a dirty used plunger in my work truck. So I leave it with them. Of course, I charge them for it on the bill and the invoice. But then they will have a fresh, because all plungers will get old. After like 4, 5, 6 years, the rubber gets older and it's not springy anymore. Cracked and brittle, it's not going to do a good job. So you want a fresh plunger. You want the right plunger for the right job, whether it be a sink plunger or a toilet plunger. There's a few different, this is a little different cup shape of a toilet plunger. Now they'll tell you when you buy them that it's either or, because this slips inside, but you're better off with actually having different plungers for sink and toilet. Number one, you're not going to want to put a used toilet plunger in like a sink that you prepare your food in. Like, so you one day you're unclogging a toilet with it, and again, these are new plungers. One day you're unclogging a toilet with it, and then the next day you're going to do like your kitchen sink where you wash your vegetables. I don't like that idea. So different plungers for different jobs. This is a more heavy duty plunger with the hose clamp on it, but a toilet plunger nonetheless. Now also in our arsenal we have, these are relatively new to the market. They're very inexpensive and basically designed to like stick down the drain, twist it a couple of times, and pull it out with hopefully any debris. These are useful when the clog is up within reach of this, and if it's the type of clog that's gonna get caught on this, like a hair ball or something like that. If it was like a greasy clog, like grease, you might be able to like mush the grease around and get the warm water running and get the grease out, but this would probably be ineffective on a grease clog where a plunger would be more effective. But this would be great on a hairball to actually pull it out instead of trying to plunge it and flush it down. And this is a little different style of the same thing. So we have these in our arsenal. Maybe you would want some gloves to protect your hands, especially if you're unclogging a toilet, because sometimes that can get pretty disgusting. I would have also my either regular needle nose or these, or I found these once and I purchased them. I don't know who makes them. Even if I did, I wouldn't mention the name because I'm not getting paid to advertise for them. But it's like a cantilever design needle nose that has like a 13 or 14 inch reach, and I can actually stick these down way down a drain and grab whatever object and pull it out, whether it be like a gold chain, a necklace, earring, and very gentle so I don't damage. Gold is very so, or hairball, or a toothbrush, or pen, whatever happened to fall down the drain. These are very handy. And I would want, like we discussed, channel locks to perhaps if I have to get a pop-up drain. So we want those. Another thing the rubber gloves for is actually a toilet. When let's say like a little toddler puts his toy in the toilet and hits flush, you may be able to actually reach in the toilet with a gloved hand, reach in underneath and actually grab that object and pull it out. Or if you happen to hit flush and a perfume bottle falls at the same time, or your watch or so your phone, and it actually disappears in the toilet before you go with a snake and a plunger and this and that, you may actually want to glove up your hands and reach in, and you may be able to grab the object and successfully retrieve it without further problems. There's always an option in the toilets, is reach and grab. Well, I'm called to this sink, for instance, and it's clogged, or it's very slow. Number one, it's got a pop-up in it, and it's got the kind of pop-up that I can't take out unless I reach behind the pop-up and loosen up that nut and take it out. So there's really nothing I can do, because even if I plunge it, as I push down on the plunger, I'm going to be pushing the pop-up closed, and it's a very small opening here, so if I'm plunging, everything's going to get clogged up in a pop-up. It's a lot easier if you just do it the right way. So we're going to reach under the sink. Here's that pop-up I showed you. Here's the nut. It's right here. We're going to reach under the sink, and we're going to loosen up. I'm using the channel locks. I'm going to loosen up the nut that's holding the pop-up. All we got to do is loosen it. The rest we can do by hand. Going to reach in there, loosen that nut up. And again, I'm going to pay attention if any of those little bushings fall out. And we're going to pop it. There's one. Why?
We're leaving like 15 minutes, so you should hop in the shower.
Okie dokie.
You need to change my screen protector.
Okay. And pay attention to little bushings. There's the pop-up ball. Now at this point I could reach up inside the sink and remove the pop-up. Well, I didn't pull the rod out far enough. There we go. Pulled it out far enough. Reach in the sink. We can grab the pop-up now. And look at this one. Actually has a nice big hairball we're going to get out of there. Now, before I can run the water or do any plunging, I got to close that pop-up because the water's just going to pour out and make a flood. So reaching back behind, I'm going to screw the nut back on, and the pop-up rod, even though there's no pop-up, the pop-up rod is what's going to seal the pipe from leaking. And making sure that we get the nut on straight. We're just going to thread it on there. Come back to the top is a lot of gunky hair on the pop-up. We're going to clean all of this off with paper towel and throw it in the garbage. Then we're going to come back to our clogged sink. Now that we have the pop-up nut and rod back in, we know the water's not going to come out. I'm going to run the water to get a couple inches of water in the bottom of the basin. And I'm going to use hot water if possible, because that'll help soften up any greasy clogs that are in there. Now, of course, this sink isn't actually totally clogged, so it's not going to fill up by itself. So I'm just putting a plunger here to help get a couple inches of water in the sink. It doesn't just go down the drain. And as we have a couple of inches of warm or hot water in the sink, we're going to take our wet rag, and if it's not damp, we're going to make it damp, and we're going to cover the overflow hole. This sink, the overflow hole is right here. We're going to cover it with the rag and our fingers to seal, so the pressure wave we generate is actually going to go to the clog and not out the hole, as we discussed in our blackboard lesson. And now that I have a few inches of water in the sink, I'm going to let a little go down first, put the plunger in place, and vigorously plunge. I'm going to, again, let some water go down, and then vigorously plunge. Again, let a little water go down, and plunge. At some point you should actually feel, as the plunger clears the clog, you will feel the action of the plunger change, and you will know at that point that you've effectively knocked the clog out of the way. Now we're going to test that the drain is open or not, which this one is, of course. At this point, if you wanted to, you could stick something like this down, one of these tools down there, and twist it around and see if you come up with anything, but it should be basically clear because the plunger worked. And if we take a look in there now, it does indeed look as if we loosened up a lot of stuff around the edges. You can actually see copper down there, brass, and not just gunky hair. And it's definitely looking much cleaner. Even though this drain wasn't actually clogged, it did have that hairball in it that we're going to take care of right now. Alright, let's move on to an example if a toilet is clogged. Alrighty, here's the deal. So we've cleaned out our drain, we plunged it, took a look down there, double checked everything's nice and looking better. Cleaned out our pop-up, very nice. Now it's time to reinstall the pop-up. And again, I showed you how this is offset, and we want it towards the back of the pipe, which is where that... So I'm reaching underneath and I'm going to loosen up that nut that we went over before in the pop-up drain. And I'm going to pull the pop-up arm back, but I'm going to keep my fingers around that shaft because I don't want that little bushing to fall off, that little nylon seal. And I have it oriented towards the back, and what I'm doing now is I'm going to put this down and feel with my other hand until I push that right through the hole, because that's what keeps it. Okay, and I'm going to know it's through the hole because I'm going to try to pull up and it won't pull up. And I know I'm hooked up to the linkage. Now holding everything together with my hands, I'm reaching in there for that nut. I'm putting it on straight, and I'm making sure it's not cross-threaded. And I'm finger tightening in it until it's snug. And then I'm going to, with my fingers, just really make it tight with my fingers. If you felt you had to, you could use your channel locks. Or if you notice it's dripping a little as you double check it, when you're done, you can give it a quarter turn with the channel locks and see if that stops the drip. So now we're going to close it, and we're gonna run some water. At this point, we can run cold water. We don't want to waste the hot water; it's expensive. Now I'm going to open it, and I'm going to feel underneath that it's not leaking at the pop-up connection. Very nice. This drain is nice and clear. Let's move on to the toilet bowl. Now, for a clogged up toilet bowl, we're going to use a toilet plunger, which has a special pull-out sleeve that seals better around the hole in the bottom than a sink plunger would. This is a toilet plunger. Things can be really disgusting at this point, depending on the stage that you've come upon this toilet clog. It could be human waste and feces and shit balls floating around inside the toilet. It could be a soft stool that's all stirred up and really mixed with urine and a disgusting foul mixture in there. But you have to deal with it. It's your house. It's not going to get better unless you take care of it. Now, if it was like an emergency situation, like let's say it happened to clog stuff up at the same time that the inside broke and it was just flowing and over flooding on the floor, you would have to get back here to the shut-off valve and turn it clockwise until you shut the water. If your shut-off valve is stuck, or you don't have the nerve to get down there while it's overflowing to shut it off, you'll have to go and find your water main shut off for the house and shut that off until we can get things under control. It can really be disgusting at this point. You would want to be wearing gloves and possibly even some rubber boots. I'm going to add some leak detection. It's basically food coloring. I'm going to add it to the bowl to help me demonstrate the next point. That's why the water is going to be blue. My friends, we want to take care of this problem as fast and as efficiently as we can. So please follow along closely. I've added some food coloring for demonstration purposes. We're going to take our toilet plunger and we're going to place it in the bottom of the bowl, trying to get the best seal we can around the hole in the bottom. I'm going to manipulate the flush lever, the flush handle, to add a little water to the tank. I'm not going to flush the whole way, but I'm going to halfway flush to bring this water level up, because the higher the water level is, the better plunging action I'm going to get. And I don't want to flush all the way, because I want to somewhat control I don't want it to come over the edge, and the level may indeed already be up a little bit, but I want a little more water. So I'm holding the lever and I'm halfway flushing, because I want to bring that water level up. And then when I feel that I have a correct water level, I'm going to vigorously plunge as fast as I can and as powerfully as I can to unclog that toilet. Fast and powerful. Fast and powerful. You must fully plunge up and down and up and down and up and down as fast as you can go, maintaining the best seal you can around the porcelain and the rubber cup. Fast and hard. And before you know it, 5 or 6 plunges and it's going to be unclogged. You're going to want to realize that it may indeed splash, which is why I recommend that you put some rubber boots on, or some old clothes at least, rubber gloves. You have to get in there and do it. It's not going to be a neat job, but you got to do it, and you got to do it with everything you got, and you're going to clear that toilet. 90% of the time, you're going to get the toilet unclogged with the plunger. But there's other times where there may be a physical object stuck in there. A toothbrush, a pen, a small bottle of perfume, anything from around the countertop that could fall in at the same time it's flushing, a cell phone, a piece of jewelry, could be anything in there. That's the times when you'll have to resort to either with a gloved hand, actually reach in that toilet. Let's say it's a watch or a cell phone, you want to retrieve it. Reach in and around and see if you can get it, actually get it. I have gotten things that dropped in while I was flushing. I've gotten them with my hands, as long as they don't go past that loop and cast it inside the porcelain. You may be able to indeed get it. I got a toy Barney out once. I got a watch, and I got a couple of cell phones out that way. Also a cork, a flower arrangement. There was a cork thing that I got out that way. If it gets past and you can't reach, you're going to have to either go to a mechanical snake, or you may even have to take the toilet off its mounting, take the bolts and flip the toilet over and reach in from the other side and either try to push it through or pull it out that way, and then reseat the toilet with a new wax ring. You may have to. It's the only way to do it. Or maybe not you, but you may have to get somebody to do it. You don't know what's going to end up down there. A lot of times kids, teenagers, young 7, 8-year-old kids in your house, they know what's in there, but they won't admit it. It could be a toothbrush, I can't tell you how many, pens, whatever, and it's in there, and if you don't get it out, it's going to clog every time. You got to get it out. We're going to move on now to shower drains. And the same technique for a shower drain is going to apply to your kitchen sink drain. So we're not actually going to do a shower and then kitchen sink segment. We're going to combine them into one, because it's the same type of drain, a drain without a vent and an overflow, that is a physical, like not a toilet, it's actually a sink or shower floor drain. So let's move on to that. Now, shower drains, we have to get the cover off. Some covers are just in like that with a gravity. Some covers have 2 screws, which you would remove the screws and then take the cover off. It may be stuck with some corrosion around the edges. You could try tapping it out or gently manipulating and prying it out until you get it up. But you got to get that cover off. You're confronted with the drain at this point. You may see a lot of hair mixed in with soap scum and body grease and stuff like that. So at this point, we're either going to get in there with like a pair of needle nose pliers and try to grab the crap out that way, or we're going to use like a tool like this or something. Let me get a more contrasting one, a tool like a drain tool like this, or a piece of coat hanger that you bend a little hook in the end and you're going to stick it down there and move it around until you pull it. If it is hair, usually all you got to do is get a piece of it and it'll all come out at once. You may be confronted with hair if you have a tile floor. Sometimes the minerals from the grouting will slowly leach in hair, and it'll make like a crusty white cement and hair mix kind of thing, and you're gonna have to get in there with some kind of metal tool or a screwdriver and scrape it all off. And then you don't want the pieces to go further down the drain because you may clog it up, so you may have to like keep taking stuff out or even a shop vac and suck it out. But that's only for tile floors with grouting, and that's not all of them. It's only some of them where the tile man rushed the insulation without letting everything dry and the minerals are going to leach out. So that's a very isolated situation, but you may run across that. So if we hair and soap and we're gonna use our hook, and if that doesn't work, or if it's still a little slow, you're going to want to put your plunger here, add a little water until you get about 1 inch of water in here, and then we're going to make believe there's 1 inch of water in here. I'm going to let a little water in the drain. I'm going to vigorously plunge. I'm going to let a little water in the drain. I'm going to vigorously plunge. Then I'm going to remove the plunger and watch how it goes. And that's usually what it takes, and the drain's just going to open up and everything's going to go out. And then you're just going to put your, maybe clean up the back of your cover and reinstall it. If it has screws, you're going to put the screws back, clean up your area, and you're done. Showers and kitchen sinks are basically the same. The only thing, the kitchen sink, you're not really going to run into the hair issue. It's going to be more grease and like food, like particles of like potato peels and stuff like that. So again, we're going to warm water or hot water is best, and a vigorous plunging, and maybe a drain tool down there. Kitchen sinks is basically a lot of vigorous plunging with hot to warm water if you can. Even if you want to boil some water on the stove and pour it down there first and then plunge it, you're going to open that drain right up. Kitchen drains are easy. This tub here is fairly representative of the general bathtub drains you're going to run across. I like to, I'm usually confronted with something like this, so I will take the bath mat, fold it inside out, and put it over this aluminum rail so I can comfortably lean over it. We're going to have 2 plungers, or, not available, 1 good plunger and a wet rag and a screwdriver to take care of a tub drain. Tubs are usually clogged up with the same thing you'll be confronted in a slow or clogged shower drain, which in a slow or clogged tub, which would be hair and soap scum and body grease all mixed together. A pretty foul mixture of whatever, human body exfoliated crap. This part is called a tub overflow cover, and it has a linkage behind that hooks up to a thing. I'm going to pull it out in a second and show you, but it usually gets all kind of hair and all crap wrapped around it. So what we're going to do is take these 2 screws out. 1, 2. We're going to take this screw in the drain cover out. I'm going to take this out before I take the drain cover out, because if I happen to drop one of these screws, I don't want it to go down the drain and make it matters even worse. So I'm keeping the cover on, so if I do drop something, it doesn't go down the drain. It would just, and on the cover, we're okay. Then I will take that off when I have all of my hardware out of the tub and safely set aside. 2 screws. Now watch this, because the whole linkage comes out. I'm lifting up and I'm also pulling this way to clear the tub. Look at this linkage that comes out. This is the piece that usually has all kind of hair and stuff around it. In this tub, for demonstration purposes, it's clear. Here is your overflow cover plate. When reinstalling the two vents or whatever, the vents go to the bottom when reinstalling. Some of the Kohlers will have a round cover that you twist, and that cover pulls straight off with like a plastic clip. Then you'll see the 2 screws to remove, and then when you reinstall it, you just press it back on. But most of them are going to look something like this. Here is our overflow. Now we're going to take the 1 screw out from the drain cover, and we got our overflow exposed. Now at this point we're going to want to add a little water to the tub, but I'm not going to do it because I got my tripod in there. But let's make believe that the tub is either clogged and has 3 or 4 inches of water in it, or we're going to put our plunger in here and we're going to add a couple of inches of water because we want some plunging action. This is the overflow. It's hooked up to this pipe. So at this point right now I can plunge all I want. The air is going to go in and out of here. It's not going to do anything. So we're either going to want to cover this with a second plunger as we plunge this one, or we're going to take a wet rag and we're going to stuff it in here and hold it with our one hand to get a really good seal here. Then we can plunge and it will actually do something. As you're plunging, you'll plunge like 5 to 6 times really fast and it'll pop it up. And a lot of times a big hair string will come out. Try to grab it and pull that aside and don't let it go back down the drain because that's what's clogging it up. And then again, we're going to go 5 or 6 vigorous plunges and pull it up and see if anything comes up. Try to grab it. It could be something that dropped down there, half of a soap bar, a string from a scrubbing sponge, a bunch of hair, but we gotta see what comes up and we're going to want to grab it as we're going. On this one right now I can actually see, even though this is a clean drain, I can actually see the beginning of a hair thing starting. And I'm going to try to get that out to show you. Look at this. Let's see. See? And usually this hair stuff just strings together. See, all you got to do is get a piece of it and the rest will come out. And then before we put this back together, we're going to want to, as long as we're in here, clean out whatever we can reach, because this stuff is like stinky and gross. And we just clean up before we reassemble everything. Trying not to leave as much of a mess as when we started. And on the bottom of our drain cover also, we're going to want to, as long as we have it off, we're going to want to clean that up. Again, it just adds to like the general aroma of the house. If you can clean all of this stuff up, you'll have a fresher, cleaner smelling house. And behind the overflow plate, we're going to want to wipe it down. We're going to want to wipe down our linkage and the bottom drain sealer thing. And inside here is usually a lot of soap scum and stuff too. Now reinstalling this thing, as I said, there's usually a couple of vent holes at the bottom, if you can see that. And we want to orient them to the bottom. And I'm going to be sticking this thing back in there and then threading, just kind of jiggle it until it's in. And then you'll be confronted with this, which I'm pulling a little this way and pushing it at the same time until it seats in there, and it will. There it goes. Okay, now we're going to put our 2 screws back in. By the way, these are available at plumbing supply houses. Should you find yours is like, let's say, rusted away and it's not working anymore, you can buy the new cover and put the old linkage on it and get your drain working again. Reinstall, put your cover plate back in the bottom so you don't drop anything down. Reinstall your 2 screws. And that's tub drain clearing in a nutshell. I'm just going to tighten everything up now, wipe it down, and that's how you clear tub drains. The most important thing is give it a vigorous plunge as hard as you can. 5, 6, 7 times, pull it up and look what's coming. If you can grab it, 5, 6, 7 times, pull it up, try to grab whatever's in there. You're either going to push it down or it's going to pop up. So if you push it down, you can't do anything about it, that's good, it's going down the pipe. If it comes up, try to grab it because it's probably a big long hair thing and you want to get it out. So YouTube, that's it. You know, I emptied my brain, all the information of 15 years of professionally clearing slow and clogged drains. I zipped out my brain and I put it on this vid for the YouTube community to use in whatever way they feel fit. Now, if you think if I actually have helped you, or you think that, you know, I got something special in the handyman abilities, you know, just like me and sub to my channel, because that just helps other users as far as YouTube's ratings and the searches. When people are looking for help on things like this, where I'll pop up, and the chances of them actually hooking to me and learning something, because I'm not holding anything back, you know? I'm not holding nothing back. And all I can say in a nutshell, you know, with this, go hot, water if possible in the drain, go hard with your plunging, and go fast. Go hot, hard, and fast, and you'll get that drain open fast and efficiently without calling for help, you know? And, you know, you younger bunch, you know, help your parents, help the older people in the house. Don't clog up the toilet with your shit and then leave it for mom to, you know, to plunge. Take the responsibility, you know, pick up that plunger and go hot, hard, and fast until you open that drain. You doing it like I say, and it's like 30 seconds and the drain's open, you know? So, you know, thanks for watching, YouTube. I think this YouTube opportunity that they've given me to make me a YouTube partner, I think is one of the best things that's happened in my life. And I'm just emptying my brain of all the handyman, all the household help, all the stuff that I can do, you know, and I'm emptying it out, and I'm giving it to you guys, like you users. I'm giving it to you like on a zip drive, you know, and here it is, and take it and, you know, upload it into your brains and do it, you know. That's all I gotta say. And just you youngers, and, you know, and the older people, you gotta take care of them, you know. Don't clog up the fucking toilet with your shit and expect your mom or your grandma or auntie to clean it out, you know. And I don't care if you're like a young teenage girl or a young teenage boy, you're clogging that fucking toilet with your obese, you know, defecations. Take care of your own rotund excrements, and don't leave it to the older people, you know.